Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hiss podcast. We are here getting it in once again, time and time again. I have done a great service to the sports world. I have solved the NBA's problem with the NBA draft. So we're going to do one show today where I show my great ideas and my brilliance and how I was able to save the NBA draft, and maybe I'll get credit for this one day. I'll write a book. I'll talk about you. It'll be great. And then probably tomorrow I'm going to talk about how I'm going to save college football. And I know that sounds right now like it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, Mr. Hicks, how could you possibly save college football? It's the Wild West right now. It's really chaos. It's NIL. It's the transfer portal. It's teams leaving. USC is going to join the Big Ten. Cats and dogs living together. Slow down. Slow down. Let your boy do what he does. Puts his mind on these problems and go ahead and get these sports problems solved. Because we all know there's people that got a lot of money out there, but not a lot of brain to go with it. And that's one of the things we want to talk about right now. So, when it comes to the NBA draft, I want you to think of a couple list of names here. So, how about Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and Tracy McGrady? What do all these players have in common? Well, they all were drafted right out of high school. And so we're thinking like, well, these are great players and they got drafted right out of high school. Why do they make it so that high school players can no longer get drafted straight to the NBA? Well, because of this next list. So there was also Jonathan Bender and Darius Miles and Josh Smith, Eddie Curry, players like that, who were also drafted right out of high school and were not great in household names. Now, did the high school players bust any worse than the freaking college players or the Euro players that came out of the same era? No. Some of the picks were good, some of the picks were bad. Doesn't really matter. The biggest problem is, and this is something that I don't think it talks about a lot. Whenever you think of like negotiations or like it's like the fans versus the owners and maybe the players versus the owners. The real thing that's going on behind the scenes that I don't think people talk about as much is good owners versus bad owners. Some of these dudes suck. They own the team because it's a good investment, or they own a team because it was bequeathed to them, like their parents died or their brother died or whatever. Like the lady that owns the Blazers right now, her brother died and left her the Blazers. She doesn't really want the Blazers. Like right now the owner of the New Orleans Saints is the wife of someone who really cared about the Saints, and she doesn't really care about the Saints. Not only that, they bought the New Orleans Hornets really cheap, and they really don't care about that. She's not real good at running the football, and she doesn't care at all about the basketball. So the ownership is part of the problem. And you have some owners who bought teams in good markets, but you pay a premium for that. If you buy a team in Houston or Dallas or LA or New York or Brooklyn or Miami or something like that, you pay extra money for that. It's gonna cost more money to build. It's gonna cost more money for the stadium, for everything. Everything's gonna cost more money because you're at premium property. You're in a premium area in a great city where people actually want to go and vacation and play, by the way. And that's a big reason. Players want to play in certain places and not in others. So players want to play in Houston. Players want to play in Brooklyn. Players want to play in LA. Nobody really wants to play in Minnesota. You'll play in Minnesota if you get drafted there, but you notice they don't ever land any big free agents. Players don't really want to go to Milwaukee. Giannis is an international player who is honestly a great player who developed with a great attitude, who is really loyal and just happy to be here. So if Giannis was born in the United States, Giannis would have bolted and went to Miami the second he had a chance to. But because he's a loyal dude and he's already, he was treated very well, they did everything they could to put places around him. They won a championship. No reason for him not to be happy right where he's at. Plus, his brother's on the team, so that he was able to play, get that angle going. So good for them. But the owners who paid that premium and they're in those good places, they made the investment. People want to play for them. I pay for great executives. I pay for great coaching. I spend the money, go over the luxury cap so that I can have great players as well. And then what do the whiny small market coach teams do? Their owners go, that's not fair. That's not fair that you got LeBron James wanting to play for you and Kevin Durant playing for you. And we lose all the guys that we draft because we're Orlando and we don't know what the hell we're doing. What about us? What about us? we're going to make rules so that we can assign guys to longer contracts if we draft with them. We're going to make it a draft so that we get the best players coming out of high school so they can be fair. We're going to make a salary cap so that it can be fair. And it's not. You're still not going to win because you suck, and you suck. Bad people pick bad people. You make bad decisions. You can't. So even when you get great players, only reason you get great players is when you are a really bad team and a great player drops into your lap in the draft. And then they end up leaving because you suck. So no matter what rules you put in place, the good franchises that hire smart people to make good decisions are the ones that are going to do well. Okay, so I have gone off on a tangent there. My bad for that. So so you have this kind of thing going on behind the scenes between good owners and bad owners. Now, how does that fit? Why is this relevant? It's relevant because you have owners who missed out on a great high school player. Like, y'all might not know this, but Kobe Bryant was like 13. Kobe Bryant was the 13th pick in the draft. Tracy McGrady was 9. Kevin Garnett was 5. That means, and by the way, Kobe Bryant was actually not even kept by the team that drafted him. Y'all might not know this, but the Charlotte Hornets actually drafted Kobe Bryant. And the Lakers, because Jerry West is brilliant, he actually got the Charlotte Hornets to trade him a Hall of Fame 5-time champion player for Vlade Divac and a handful of Magic Beans, and the rest is history. Because stupid, because they're stupid, and the good teams will fleece the stupid teams over and over again, and that's why the Lakers are great and why Charlotte is stupid. So they put all these things in place, and then even when they get opportunities, they still suck, and they still manage to screw it up. So the main reason, so they don't want to be the one that missed out on the next Kevin Garnett, the next Kobe Bryant, whatever. So that we need more time. We need more time to look at and evaluate these players to make sure that this guy out of high school is actually going to be able to play in the NBA. Well, that doesn't really help very much in college because, to be honestly, unless you're playing for Duke or North Carolina or Kansas, even then, you're still not going to play against other players of caliber, of size and caliber, like you did back in the 80s when the guys had to stay in college for 3 or 4 years. You're not going to get real bodies, really big, strong bodies who develop their own game. So you're really not going to get, even if they go to college, you're not getting a really good evaluation. There's just not that many NBA caliber players in college anymore. So even though they have to go, now they're using the other options of going to the G League and going overseas. So what's the solution? Because the high school players, I think some of them are ready to play and some of them aren't. So, and then the teams want to get rights to these players, but what if they don't pan out? You end up taking Eddie Curry when you thought you were getting somebody who could actually play basketball. So you're like, Eddie Curry, he was terrible, but the year before, it was the number one pick was Dwight Howard. It was also out of high school. So that was the thinking. It was like, we'll just do what they did and we'll get a great player too. No, they're not, because they're not the same, because you don't know how to scout and you can't find out whether a player can really play or not by looking at high school film like a real scout could actually do. So here is my solution. It only took me half the show to actually get to it. I want you, so you can draft players out of high school, but they can't play in the NBA until they're 20 years old. What does that mean? That means that they have to go to the G League. They have to go to college. They can play overseas. I retain their rights to play in the NBA. I can even pay them. I can give them a bonus. Maybe they'll be slotted. If you get the number one pick, you get this salary and this bonus. You get the option as to wherever you want to play. But when you come to play in the NBA, this team is going to have your rights. So, mind you, like hockey and baseball both do this. And one of the special things that they do about hockey and baseball is you can draft whatever the number one prospect is. No matter what you have on your roster, you take the best prospect. In basketball, and football, you have to draft for right now when you're drafting that high. So let's say you have a point guard you drafted a year before. And the most valuable pick, the best pick that you can possibly take with your position, is also a point guard. So if somebody doesn't want to come up and trade and get that point guard from you, you're losing value because you can't take him because you already have a great point guard. Well, what if you could draft him and put him in the G League for 2 years? You're going to see, and then he's going to develop. Everybody else is going to see him develop. And then another team comes along and goes, hey, we have this great forward in the G League. You have a great point guard in the league. I'll give you some draft picks, some other prospects. You give me that point guard, I'll give you my forward, and everybody makes out. If you draft him out of high school, you put him in the G League and he can't play, you found out he can't play, and it cost you a draft pick. But honestly, isn't that better, keeping the salary low, not having to pay him a lot of money, and then find out that he can't play because he played in the G League. Now, what this would also do was make the G League an actually decent product to watch. So you got some fringe NBA players that are in the G League. You bring some Euros over who are trying to get acclimated to the American game, and then you have some guy 4 or 5 star level talent who has been. So you have at any given year you have 2 years of 5-star blue chip prospects also in the G League. So that would give you a good mix of size, of experience. You got some Euros and you got talent, and it's all going to be in the G League. That would make the G League something you would actually want to watch. Right now, you watch the G League, how diehard of a basketball player, team or fan do you have to be if you're watching the G League? I'm watching the Summer League and I feel like desperate. I think the reason I'm watching the Summer League is because there's no football and there's no anything else going on. I'm really watching the Summer League. I'm watching Summer League basketball. I'm desperate. Really. There's no college football, there's no NFL football, there's no NBA. And I have a problem. I believe there is real value in this idea, and I think it could really work. And believe me, if you think this idea is good, wait till you see or hear my idea for how to fix college football. It is brilliant. It is epic, and I believe that you will be thanking me one day for saving the great product that is college football. Thank you. That is my time. Deuces.